Welcome to the Afterburners podcast.
I got it.
Sam was distracted by his phone briefly, so I'm taking over as brief introductions. Today we're going to be talking about rookie quarterbacks. I'm joined as always by my wonderful co-host Sam, who was distracted for a second. It's okay.
Let me take over. Let me take over these duties. All right. Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the Afterburners podcast. I am your host, Sam Niedermeyer, my co-host, and my brother from another mother, Mr. Bobby Koch, and all the way from Canada, Mr. Mike Jarvis. Mike, I understand you're reeling off of a tough and brutal futsal game from last night. Are you all right?
Oh, I'm fine. It was a tough one last night. We predictably lost it, like I knew we would, but it was the nature that we lost. It's a recreational futsal game on a Monday night. Yet these people thought the team that we were playing thought they were going out there and playing for the World Cup. So, when you're up 6-1 or 7-2 or whatever in the last 5 minutes, and you got to kick the legs out from the girls from behind and kick me in the leg when I've got the ball covered as a keeper, all the power to you, buddy.
You know what, man? Ellen Iverson would fit on perfectly on your team because he's all about just taking like it's practice. We're talking about practice, man. And if the game's already over, like, why are you out there playing hard?
Oh, exactly. That's what I said to my teammates. I was like, I can understand if it's a 1-1 game or a 2-1 game, something like that. But you're literally up by like 5 goals with 3 minutes to go. Like,
hear Mike tell it. He threw a guy down on the ground, and I think that's kind of similar to what we're going to do to each other verbally today with these rookie quarterbacks.
I laid the smack down.
We have such a fun show because we've already been talking nonstop on Twitter between ourselves and obviously before the show here. We are going to talk some rookie QBs, and that's basically going to take up most of the show today, Bobby. Real quick, I do have a question for you, though. Do you know what futsal is?
Isn't it just soccer?
It's like indoor soccer with a heavier ball, right, Mike?
Well, the ball is actually the same. It's just littler nets.
The ball's the same? I play with a kind of heavier ball.
Oh, we use the same ball.
Oh, all right. Cool.
That's fine.
You're basically playing indoor soccer. So anyways, for the listeners, it's indoor soccer. Mike's a big soccer fan. I don't know anything about soccer, but I play goalie from our team. We got the playoffs on Thursday again. We won last week, Mike. I didn't mean to pry in there into your personal games there, but let's get started. This is the Afterburners podcast. You guys can find me at the Needy One. Bobby, rip us off your Twitter handle. Mike, follow up. We're gonna get right into the show, firing on all cylinders.
Yep, you can find me at Wrecked Fantasy. That's REKED Fantasy. Again, that's my initials. I'm going to say it every single time until people get it.
You can find me on Twitter at Mike Jarvis, MikeGervais. Nothing fancy about it.
And this is at Afterburners Pod. You can find us on iTunes as well. Make sure you subscribe so that you can get an update every time we go live with new episodes. Of course, if you're watching us on YouTube right now, I apologize for our ugly mugs. Guys, we got some news from last week that we were talking about the quarterback shows last week. We had some sightings. We had Case Keenum moving on, Kirk Cousins going to the Vikings, things like that. Couple other updates. We're going to go briefly. We're going to get you quick hits here, and then we're going to get firing on the QBs. First move, Sam Bradford goes to the Cardinals. Was it a 2-year deal, Bobby?
Yeah, 2 years, $40 million was the reported contract.
You guys like that move? What do you think, Mike?
Don't like it. Why pay $40 million for a guy who's probably not going to play 20 out of those 32 or out of those 32 games?
Like, wow, that's a harsh prediction for Bradford. I too am worried about Bradford's knees, but I will say in 2016 he did set the QB completion record for a single season until Drew Brees, who had the record before, came back in 2017 and went, "That's my record, back off," and reclaimed it. The one thing I do like about the move is I do think it gives, if he can play. I don't even know if he can play. I'm assuming the Cardinals did their homework and he can play. It gives Larry Fitzgerald a very easy completion guy. So Larry Fitzgerald can play over the slot, get easy completions from Bradford, and it's good for Larry Fitzgerald's fantasy stock as he goes off into the sunset.
Oh, absolutely. I'll agree with that. But Bradford just can't stay healthy, and somebody's going to smack him right in the gub, and he'll be out.
One of the hardest things, you can't really make any projections because of injury, so you can't say, like, oh, he's going to get injured. But I think it's safe to say a person that has an injury history is a liability, right? So for 2018, 2019 Cardinals, good luck. That's all I can say. Another move, we got the Jets going to jet making moves. They signed Josh McCown and Teddy Bridgewater. Bobby, They also moved up, didn't they, to get to the third pick? So that's kind of relevant too, because everyone thinks they're going to take a quarterback. Make some sense out of this, Bobby.
Yeah, Teddy Bridgewater's deal it looked better than it actually is. It was $15 million, but only $500,000 of it is actually guaranteed.
Yeah.
And Josh McCown, I think, got something like $10 million, and supposedly the Bills were after him. I actually think Josh McCown did a very serviceable job, and he'll probably start while they develop a rookie quarterback unless they decide the rookie's ready to go right away. Teddy is looking like a cut candidate, which makes me sad because anytime someone suffers a devastating injury and manages to work their way back to the field or deals with a bunch of off-field issues and manages to work through it like Josh Gordon, I'll root for them to have success just because I know how tough that is. But I don't know where Teddy goes from there. What about you, Mike? What do you think?
Yeah, that's basically, I'm on the same train. Teddy, whether it be 500 or 600K guaranteed, it's almost as an insurance policy. If Sam McCowan suffers a freak injury in training camp and he can't go, then they'll keep Teddy. If not, they'll cut him. And really, 600 grand to the Jets is pocket change. He's not going to be in their long-term plans at all. And I'm with you, Bobby. McCowan, very serviceable job last year. You let him start and you let a guy, develop under him. I agree. There's nothing more to say about that.
I think you guys hit it spot on. I actually didn't really understand any of the deal that Teddy Bridgewater signed, and then I realized it's basically like, most of it, 90% of it is very incentivized. So I'm cheering for Teddy. I think if he gets cut, he'll still land somewhere else, but you really, really got to worry at this point. That
maybe he'll go back up Sam Bradford with the Cardinals, reunited, and both of them can have their injury concerns together.
It makes sense. I think because I think we're all in agreement that Bradford's going to get hurt, so it's like, Teddy Bridgewater will be available.
Yeah.
All right, so the Jets actually moved up to the third draft spot, right? And so there's some talk that maybe they're going to take Saquon Barkley, but I think all three of us are in agreement that they're probably going to go with a quarterback for their long-term situation. Now, I'm not saying that one of these guys is going to be available, but of the let's say the first two go running back. First quarterback available is going to be either Josh Rosen, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Baker Mayfield. You also have Sam Darnold. The guys make the case for one of them as the best quarterback that's available this year in the draft. Mike, why don't you get started? This is gonna be very intense. Why don't you get started, Mike?
All right. I'm gonna go and as the legendary wrestling broadcaster JR would say, Boomer Sooner. Give me Baker Mayfield. I like what Baker did in Oklahoma, especially last year as a senior.
You just like him grabbing his crotch.
I do.
I'm not gonna lie, I like that too.
There's a certain moxie to be had, and you need that. And Baker, especially if he goes to New York for the Jets, which I hope he doesn't, because I don't want him there. But at any rate, the Jets, they could turn that into a PR, just a masterpiece. But at any rate, Baker last year, 285 completions, 404 attempts, good for 70.5 completion percentage, 4,627 yards, 43 TDs. That's a hell of a lot of touchdowns and only 6 picks. Some people worry that his feet are a little behind and his footwork isn't the greatest. Some people will also sit there and say, oh, yeah, he's only 6 feet tall. He might have a hard time, seeing over that D line coming at you. I look, again, to New Orleans. Drew Brees isn't exactly a tall fellow.
I was waiting for the Drew Brees comparison. As soon as you said 6 feet tall.
I was also waiting for the Russell Wilson comparison.
I don't know how tall Russell Wilson is.
He's short.
He's like 5'11".
Oh, damn, that's how tall I am. At any rate, but yeah, Brees is only 6 feet tall. He's done all right for himself. Baker doesn't have the strongest arm, but he's pretty accurate. And in today's world, that definitely plays. Like I said, only had 6 picks. He had 8 the year before, and a 70% completion percentage the year before as a junior in the Big 12 as well. So
can you imagine Baker Mayfield in New York? I feel like his personality would fit in so well that people like he'd be the most polarizing figure in New York.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. It's a media.
I would love it.
He'd be a media darling. He'd be a PR, a publicist's dream. He'd basically be Happy Gilmore.
Yeah, I think a little bit of both.
Like he would be the NFL's version of Happy Gilmore, I think.
No, I would probably start cheering for the Jets if that was the case. Like if he goes there and he just becomes a giant like Baker, like what he did basically at Oklahoma, and just kind of like does what he does, I would just start cheering for him. Bobby, you're gonna disagree with Baker Mayfield, right?
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, I actually love Baker Mayfield too. He's my second quarterback in the class, and he has a little bit better of a rushing ability than my main guy. But the number one guy for me is Josh Rosen. And part of the reason is that I really like my pocket passers and I've watched now a ton of college game, which, by the way, disclaimer, I am not a film guy. I will watch as many games as I typically can, but I don't watch every single game. However, because the Giants have the number 2 overall pick, I have watched these QBs like a hawk because I want to know who I think they should be taking. And from watching these games, I just really love the touch that Josh Rosen has when he throws the ball. And I'm not typically one of those guys who says, height or anything like that matters. But Mayfield definitely has more upside than Rosen. But Rosen is the safest pick in the draft. Every one of these QBs has their warts. But Rosen seems like his floor is the highest. Not necessarily the highest ceiling, but the highest floor. And if you told me that he's going to be Eli Manning, or another comparison I've heard is Matt Ryan, if he's going to be either of those guys for the next 10 years, I'd gladly take that on my dynasty team, especially because early in their careers, both of those guys had QB1 seasons.
Rosen does. There's something to be said about that. I actually agree with you, Bobby, in that I think Rosen is the safest pick. I think out of the top 5 we just mentioned, there's like 4 or 5 other guys. Like there's like 10 or 11 that are coming out this year that you could theoretically see as a starter. But of the top 5, I think actually of the entire draft, Rosen's definitely the safest. Like he's probably going to have most likely the longest career. I don't know if he's going to be like have that like 4,500, 40 touchdown season, but he could have, 4,000, 25, like that. I mean, like 3,800, 25, 26, like he could do that. Baker Mayfield, for that reason, I think Josh Rosen makes the most sense, but also Rosen, I have him as my number 3 because I like Baker Mayfield a lot. I don't care what anyone says about like attitudes or whatever. Like I don't care. I actually love athletes that go out of their way to like not follow the norm and be kind of dicks. And like when he has that bravado, especially against Kansas, where he's clutching his crotch and he's like going like this, people forget that Kansas didn't shake his hand before.
Right. And
it's fucking Kansas. Like, what are you doing? Like, of course you're gonna get pwned. You like Rosen number 2, Mike? Is that right?
No, I don't.
So you got Baker Mayfield. Who's your number 2?
Lamar Jackson.
All right. So full disclaimer on our Afterburners podcast on Twitter handle, we did not have Lamar Jackson. Now I'm going to talk to the social media guy that's in charge of the Afterburners. I'm going to talk to the intern. I'm going to have a talk with him because my guy is now last right now. I think he's at 9% of the 600 votes we're getting. I'm at 9%, but Lamar Jackson was kind of been written in a lot. I don't know. I can't really see the Lamar Jackson love in a dynasty. I just think like he reminds me of somebody that's just going to be like a one and done. Like make the case for Lamar.
Yeah, I definitely have. That thought has crossed my mind. I think Lamar Jackson's the most athletic quarterback.
Oh, no, that's 100% right.
And if the things fall into pieces correctly, you combine that athleticism, he could be a hell of a running, throwing quarterback. He could be what everybody wanted RG3 to be. If things don't work out, he could, I don't want to say transition to wide receiver because I think that'd be
cause a huge storm to come to the podcast.
I'm not saying that, but it's an option. But I like the way that Jackson plays. Admittedly, I don't watch a lot of college football games. Louisville had an all right year.
He dominated to be fair, he dominated last year too. It wasn't just 2017, it was 2016 too.
Right.
He's been very good in college.
The thing with Lamar is, he could be elite with his arms or his legs. You look at what Russell Wilson does in Seattle. a lot of Russell Wilson's fantasy value anyway comes from his legs. Because Russell Wilson to me is probably a top 2 or 3 at scrambling in the NFL.
Yeah, I was going to say you could even argue his passing value comes from being able to scramble and make throws on the run.
Exactly, and I see a lot of that from the film that I have seen in Lamar Jackson. And even if he's Russell Wilson light, that's still a hell of a fantasy grab, especially in a dynasty league.
Who would you compare Baker Mayfield to right now in the NFL?
Maybe a little bit of Matty Stafford.
That's interesting. I was actually going to say Josh Allen reminds me of Matt Stafford. Of course, I was going to say Ben Roethlisberger, but Bobby, Josh Rosen is your number 1. Who's your number 2?
Number 2 is Baker Mayfield. Number 3 is Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson, so just to kind of piggyback off what Mike was saying, he could easily be my number 1 if he landed somewhere where I thought that coach is very creative with their offensive scheme. So let's say, for example, San Francisco didn't have Jimmy Garoppolo, and somehow Kyle Shanahan got his hands on Lamar Jackson. That would be electric. I would be all over that for dynasty purposes.
But they have Jimmy Garoppolo, so
right. But I'm just giving that as an example because I can't really think of a creative coach off the top of my head.
That's because they don't exist in the NFL.
Yeah, there's not too many Kyle Shanahans out there. But so number 2 is Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield, I don't like the Stafford comparison, and that's just because he's a bit more mobile than Stafford. Maybe I'm wrong about Stafford's rushing numbers, but I generally think of him as a slow, big guy, and also maybe that's just because he's kind of goofy looking.
He definitely is goofy looking.
Baker has a bit more rushing ability than that, and he has a bit more rushing ability than Rosen. Rosen's definitely going to be a stand-in-the-pocket kind of guy, whereas I definitely think the footwork for scrambling, like Mike was just talking about, is actually going to be a positive for Baker Mayfield too, not just Lamar Jackson. I can't really think of an example.
Alex Smith?
Maybe Aaron Rodgers, maybe? Rodgers is all right at scrambling.
Yeah, that seems like maybe like a cross between like Smith and Rodgers. That sound like when you guys said that, I was like, yeah, that sounds right. Like if Smith and Rodgers had a baby, that baby would be Baker Mayfield.
Who would be the man and the woman in this relationship?
I think Smith would be the woman.
He has to be, right?
Being a writer for 2 quarterbacks, I can't disparage Alex Smith because Sal is a big Alex Smith fan and loves Alex Smith. So if I want to continue to have a job, I'm just going to say I plead the 5th.
So here is my defense of Josh Allen. Now, people have been very aggressive on me saying that I'm dismissing Lamar Jackson. And fair, because if you look at it, like you guys said, Lamar Jackson is completely – it's not even close. He's the most athletic at the position. He was phenomenal at Louisville for 2 – it's just they've had the greatest 2-year of offensive run in Louisville history, I believe. I could be wrong about that, but I think I read that somewhere. Of course, I'm just making stuff up, right? But the thing that scares me the most is that, like, NFL – like Lamar Jackson did that at Louisville, and the running option was a big part of their game. The NFL defense has figured that shit out like within a year. So I could see Lamar Jackson like having a very, very good year his first year under center. Like his first year as a starter, wherever that might be, I could see him just blowing up and doing great. But then I don't see it long term just for the simple fact that NFL defenses get smart. NFL defenses have a harder time figuring out, throwing between like Josh Rosen, like throwing darts on windows, through windows and small windows and throwing great passes and receivers that are making good catches. The reason I like Josh Allen is, one, he's got a huge arm. Now, granted, it's not like the same NFL, but still there's something to be said about like a 50-yard bomb that like defenses probably can't pitch up to. And 2, he apparently interviewed very well, my sources, which is like Adam Schefter and like anybody else that can read Twitter. So he tells me he's got like he's smart. He improved his accuracy in the Senior Bowl, and granted it's a Senior Bowl, but he also had terrible wide receivers at Wyoming. I think he only had 1 wide receiver that had over 30 catches. Now, you could argue that could be the culmination of Josh Allen having a less than 60% completion percentage, so they didn't get a lot of catches. But I think it's probably because of the fact that Wyoming isn't a powerhouse. They don't get good wide receivers. You go into the NFL, all of a sudden you get a bunch of wide receivers that were drafted or signed as unrestricted free agents. That can really improve your completion percentage overnight. I like Josh Allen as my number 1. Lamar Jackson is actually going to drop to my number 4. I don't know why I put Sam Darnold in that poll. I was just like, whatever. But I feel like I'm ranting on and on. Guys, like, prove me I'm wrong. Like, you tell me I'm wrong about Josh Allen here.
So I guess I'll use the comparison that I've used for Josh Allen. I'm interested to see how you will respond to this. The number one comparison in my head for Josh Allen that I can think of, big arm talent. Everyone's raving about the arm talent. He's going to be a project he's going to develop. Paxton Lynch. What do you think about that? What do you think about comparing Josh Allen to Paxton Lynch?
I was actually going to go more along the lines of, like, I mean, the obvious comparison is Ben Roethlisberger, right? Like,
yeah,
says that. I've never really heard Paxton Lynch being compared.
Well, that's my own. Paxton Lynch had a huge arm. Everyone said he was a pro.
But they never invested time in him to be a project. Like, he was basically he was almost thrown in the first year he was drafted, right? Like, within 4 or 5 games. Josh Allen, if granted, a lot of the conversation that we're having about these guys, it does depend where you land. Like,
absolutely.
If you land like if you land under like Jeff Fisher, who's not a coach anymore, of course they're going to be terrible. But it also, like you said, Bobby, it depends. They just didn't they didn't invest the time in Paxton Lynch. They threw him out there and they said, "Oh, he's not good." Like, sometimes you gotta wait on these guys. And everyone agrees Allen's probably going to take a year to get ready and polished.
Yeah, they definitely have to marinate for a bit. And the only thing that I'll say about Josh Allen is, Wyoming didn't have the greatest of wide receiver corps, but I mean, the guy only nailed 55-56% of his passes.
Yeah, it was like 56 or 50. Yeah,
and threw for 1,850 yards.
Yeah, it's a little shy 1,900. It's also important to note that he was hurt.
I think he missed last 2 games, I believe.
Yeah, it was out of 2. It might have been 3.
Okay, so even if you figure he throws for 300 yards in those games, that still puts him up to only 2,400 yards on the year. So. Louisville was lacking, but Josh Allen to me.
Wyoming, Mike?
What's that?
You mean Wyoming? You said Louisville was.
Oh yeah, sorry, Wyoming.
Yeah, I know you love Lamar Jackson, but we're talking about Josh Allen now.
Yeah, Wyoming was lacking a bit, but I would kind of almost compare him to Derek Carr a little bit.
That's interesting. I actually really like that comparison too.
That's a smart one.
Yeah. So I mean, I think
very inconsistent. That's what you're going for, right?
Yeah, and I think more hype than substance for the Allen anyway.
Sam, how are you going to respond to that?
I like Derek Carr. I realized he didn't really have a good year this year. He was dealing with a hurt offensive line, and I think didn't a couple other guys get hurt at guard and tackle? Offensive line's good. Don't get me wrong, but some starters were out. But
Derek Carr also had a back injury.
Yeah, I was about to say he had a back injury, which really. I get it. Like, he's looked kind of bad at times, but at the same time, if you have a back injury and you're throwing the ball,
right. But it's just I watched a couple Raiders games this year, and even the ones that I watched that he appeared healthy in, his decision making just looked bad. Derek Carr is, if you were okay, how do I phrase this? Derek Carr is kind of a vanilla pick. I see that as Josh Allen as well. It's not going to go, holy shit, that's an awesome pick. But it's not going to go, oh, man, you fucked up. It's a safe pick. Yeah, sure. It's a safe pick. And if you want to be safe and, finish 6th in your league, take Derek Carr. Take Josh Allen.
So let me get your top 5. Rank the top 5 quarterbacks coming out of this year's draft class. Bobby,
Sure. So number 1, Josh Rosen. Number 2, Baker Mayfield. Number 3, Lamar Jackson. Number 4, Sam Darnold. Number 5, Josh Allen.
Mike?
For me, I'd go Baker. Hold on. I got to think about this for a second.
I'll give you mine while you're thinking.
Okay, you go.
Josh Allen, Baker Mayfield, Josh Rosen, Lamar Jackson, Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold, I think, is...
Oh, yeah, I did that again. I apologize. Every time I want to make... sorry to cut you off, Sam, but every time I want to make his name fancier than it actually is. It's just Sam Darnold. I apologize that I tried to make it sound French or fancy. I don't know why.
Monsieur Darnold.
I thought it was Darnold.
Monsieur Darnold.
Okay, I'm ready. So I'll go Baker Mayfield, Lamar Jackson. With 3, I'm going to go... Darnold, not Darnold. I'm going to go Rosen 4 and Allen 5.
Does Mason Rudolph, is he better than that Josh Allen to you guys?
Also, should give your ranks too.
I just did him.
You did.
I cut you off.
I thought I did him. Here. All right. So I'm going Josh Allen 1, Baker Mayfield 2, Josh Rosen 3, Lamar Jackson 4, Sam Darnold 5.
Oh, okay. I cut you off at the end. I didn't realize. That's my bad.
Well, you
You're the
don't
worst.
have enough experience being an actual host.
Yeah.
You tried it. You tried it at the beginning of the show, and clearly you failed miserably. You got to leave the hosting to me.
Yeah. Mike,
yeah.
you want to take that question first?
I don't know a lot about him, to be honest. He'd be 5, 6 for me. I'll put him 6. I'll put him behind Allen, just because everything that I've read hasn't put him in the top 5, and everything you read on the internet has to be true, obviously.
Yeah, there's nothing fake on the internet.
Yeah, nothing at all. So I'll put him 6, so he wouldn't crack my top 5.
So for me, I did my superhero quarterback comparisons for 2 quarterbacks, and Mason Rudolph probably got one of the worst ones where I didn't even make him a superhero or a villain. I made him Foggy Nelson.
Just Mason Rudolph. Oh, Foggy.
That is Daredevil's best friend, who's literally just there and like annoying all the time. And I said that because I said his numbers, he had good numbers in college, don't get me wrong. But most of that came from throwing to actual Daredevil, James Washington, who, by the way, if you're listening, random shout out to James Washington. I love him. If you can get him at like the 5th or 6th pick in your rookie drafts, you're doing pretty well.
I'm just hearing you love him.
You know, earlier we said Josh Allen didn't have anyone to throw to. Mason Rudolph was the opposite. He was made by throwing to someone who was just really, really good.
Yeah, Oklahoma State does a really good job of drafting stud wide receivers.
So I would want all 5 of the guys we've mentioned before Mason Rudolph on my team before I looked at Mason Rudolph. And I'm talking real team and fantasy team. If your real team takes Mason Rudolph, I will probably feel bad for you. It might work out, but I will just my initial reaction will be, oh, I'm so sorry for that fan base.
Mike, Baker Mayfield, where's his ideal landing spot for you in the NFL, like as on an NFL team?
That's a good question. It would suck for his first year or 2 value, but I would love to see what Baker Mayfield could do with your boys in Pittsburgh.
I mean, he would definitely probably sit for 1-2 years. I think that's probably the end for Ben Roethlisberger. So,
Yeah.
I would be okay with that too.
Have him throwing bombs to AB and Juju. That'd be fun.
So he and Juju can develop together.
I was about to could you imagine the swag on that team with Juju?
So much swag.
Mayfield, dude.
There would be a lot of swag there. Obviously, I would love for him to come to New Orleans. Again, he'd have to marinate for at least 2 years. I think Sean Payton would be able to do a pretty good job with him there. There'd be a lot of swag with Kamara, Mayfield, and that defense that the Saints are building as well. If I'm looking for an immediate fantasy impact for Baker Mayfield, probably the Jets. Baker Mayfield throwing bombs to Robbie Anderson if he gets his shit figured out would be all right.
Quincy Enunwa will be back too.
Yeah, exactly.
The Jets are not as bad as people think they are.
They're really not.
They're not. I would say Buffalo, but despite what our good buddy Mark says, nothing good comes from Buffalo.
That's fair.
Bobby, Josh Rosen, I think we know the answer.
Yes. Josh Rosen, if I have my way, and it's looking like it might be the case, will be a New York Giant. I will immediately order a jersey. I will dance in the streets. But really, Pat Shurmur, for those who don't know, was a former offensive coordinator for the Vikings. If you're listening to a Dynasty podcast, you probably know that already. But he's been really good at developing quarterbacks. I mean, all you need to do to see that is that Case Keenum came in as a fill-in for an injured starter and just did really well, and that could be part of the system. But that suggests to me that Shurmur's good at developing his QB. So I would love that landing spot. Not only would he have Pat Shurmur to work with, he'd have Odell Beckham, Sterling Shepard, Evan Ingram, whoever they can get at running back. It would be
Jonathan Stewart.
No, shut up. We don't talk about that. But no, really, at minimum, if he's able to develop in that system, I think he'd be a low-end QB1, and I'd be very excited for his future, both for my real team and my fantasy teams.
Low-end QB1, that's not like right off the bat, right? That's like
no, he, based on everything they're saying, I imagine he would sit for potentially a year behind Eli. I mean, it depends what happens in training camp, but it is possible that he would sit. It's also possible the Giants will do something dumb like take Barkley at 2, even though they should trade the pick for a haul or take a quarterback. That might be my afterburn. I will continue to burn them until I know for sure what they're doing in the draft. But yeah, that's where I would love to see him go, and I make no secret of it.
For Josh Allen, I'm going to go. I would love to see him. I think ideal for him would be New Orleans. Sorry, Mike. I think that would be great for him because then he can learn under Sean Payton. I think, get a year or two under Drew Brees before he retires. But I honestly think he's going to be taken by the Arizona Cardinals, and I see him probably fitting in as soon as Sam Bradford's on.
Yeah, I see Allen going to Arizona. When I was looking at it earlier today, last night, that was a pretty logical fit I had in my mind. And
he'll probably be available there. I think a couple other quarterbacks will go above him. So in terms of draft, like 2 quarterback dynasty league, right? Any of these got like, we'll go with whoever you chose as your number 1. Where are you going to draft them in this year's draft? So where do you draft Baker Mayfield?
I'm drafting Baker Mayfield very high. I'm in a super flex league, and I have 5 first-round picks. You can bet your bottom dollar that Baker Mayfield is going to be on my team. I have the 3rd and 4th pick. So
unless he goes top 2.
Oh, I was just going to say, unless he goes 1 or 2, Baker Mayfield's going to be on my team with 3 or 4.
That's pretty much the same answer for me. So in terms of how I rank them, and it might change if it was a straight up 2 QB league, but in super flex, I go Barkley, Geis, Josh Rosen, and then some other stuff. But I would take him with the number 3 pick if I had it.
Yeah, I'm taking Josh Allen 3. And if I were in your situation, like the 3-4, I think it just makes sense to take your top QB, especially if it's in a 2 QB league. So I think we're all in agreement. Whoever your top 5, whoever your quarterback is at top 5, you take the one you have ranked 1. Take him with your with your 3rd pick if you got the 3rd
Absolutely
pick higher.
Yep. Well, not or higher. 3rd pick to 4th pick, because or higher, I'd say take one of the running backs.
Yeah, same here.
1-1, you have to take Barkley.
Who was your second? Who was your number 2?
Geis. I could make an argument that you could take the quarterback over Geis. That I could see.
Yeah.
Geis, I assume that in the league that I was talking about, that Barkley's going 1. If he doesn't, and he falls, like if 1 and 2 both take quarterbacks, which I don't think they will.
That'd be the most insane thing to ever happen.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I have 3 and 4, so I would get
yeah, that'd be ridiculous.
But it also depends on the makeup of your team, right? Like,
oh, for sure.
If you're stacked at running back, but you need quarterback help,
then trade out of that pick and let somebody else take Barkley.
Actually, I like that. Yeah.
Because so I know we're a quarterback podcast, but just really quick, the value for 1-1 is ridiculous. I've seen actual trades.
What was that
offered.
Tweet you sent? It was something ridiculous. That
it was the 2018 102,
like 15 picks
2019 second, or no, 2018 second, 2019 first, I think another 2019 first, a 2020 first, a 2020 second. And so basically you're moving down 1 spot and you're going from Barkley to Geis for like 4+ firsts. And this guy said no.
Yeah, I would take that in a minute. I would not be able to hit the accept button fast enough.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, there's certain situations, and I've had conversations about, getting quote unquote proven talent versus future picks. And then people saying you could always trade the picks. It's basically, if you want to see some really cool conversations about Saquon Barkley, I will retweet that tweet after we release the podcast so you can see the different threads that popped up about it, because there were some really smart people and some less smart people like myself who took part in the conversations.
I feel like this is such a deep running back class. Like, why are people getting so caught up with Barkley? Like that, to me, that value is so disproportionate to what Barkley is, especially in this year's draft. I don't understand it.
It is a super deep draft. It's a super deep running back draft and a super deep quarterback draft.
Guys like Chubb are going to be available if you drop down. Like he's just going to be available.
Mikal, I don't know how to pronounce his last name.
It's just because, and I know
Well,
we
that's
say
good
this
because
every
none of us know how
year,
to pronounce anybody's last name
but
on this podcast.
Yeah.
Barkley is considered a quote-unquote generational talent, and I've kind of seen it. Although we say that every year,
Last year was 4.
I left last year.
it's a little bit different. I will say I am a Barkley believer, and I think if you don't take him at the 1-1 or trade him at 1-1 for Hall, you've done it wrong, basically.
Right, and I agree.
All right. Well, I have my reservations about Barkley, but he's definitely going to be like an immediate help wherever he goes to. I just
Right.
If you're looking to construct a team, I don't think like wasting all of those picks for one guy makes sense, especially in the draft.
Yeah, makes sense.
We're gonna play a quick game here. We're running out of time, so we're gonna play a quick game, and it's going to combine my love of dating apps with our love for quarterbacks. So this is how it's gonna work, guys. I'm gonna rattle off, let's say, the top 10 names for quarterbacks in this year's draft class, the 2018 draft class. I'll name the top 10, and you tell me whether you're swiping right. Like it's just like it's Tinder. Now, granted, you guys are in long-term relationships, so maybe I need to explain how Tinder or Bumble works. But the idea is that when you see somebody that you could, you're like, hey, this person could be a good partner, you swipe right. Or if you don't, you say, I never want to see this ugly person ever again in my life. And that was very brutal. I'm sorry, but that's just the way it is. Then you swipe left. Now, there's a third option. It's called the super like. And what you do is you swipe up. Now, you only get one of those a day. So if you guys are going to use a super like, and you don't have to, but if you're going to use a super like on one of these 10 guys, you can only use it once. Any questions?
If I save my super like, do I get 2 super likes tomorrow?
No.
If
I might as well use
super
it.
like, is there any penalty in the game, or is it just us putting our flag on that player? Like, do we not get to like someone else because we use a super like?
Man, you just if you just swipe right, swipe right on everyone. Yeah, right. Swipe right, swipe left. It doesn't matter. Now I'm gonna get some stipulations. This is obviously for 2 QB dynasty, and that's it. Like, so if you think that this person's gonna be worth it and is gonna be good, I'm also gonna give like a draft. I'm gonna give like a draft value too, so that you can say, okay, swipe right, swipe left. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense, because otherwise I would have just swiped right on everyone, since it could be potentially starters.
Man, Bobby, a lot of banging for you, huh?
Yeah, that's it. I'm all about those quarterbacks.
Mike, you good?
I'm good.
All right. Here's the first name. Ready?
Yep.
Lamar Jackson, pick 4, 1.04.
Swipe right.
Swipe left.
I'm swiping left too. Baker Mayfield, 1.04.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, I'm gonna go right too. Josh Rosen, 1.04.
Left.
Super like.
Shit, I should use my super like on Baker. Fuck.
I'm going to swipe left. All right, so we have. What did you swipe right on Jackson, Mike?
I did, yes.
All right. So you swiped right on 2 out of 3. I swiped left on 2 out of 3.
I'd like to use my super like on Baker at 1.04.
You can go back and use super like. Okay, I'll allow it.
Super like.
Here's the next one. Sam Darnold, 1.10.
Ooh.
Right.
I'm gonna go. I'll go right.
I think I gave a poor value. 1.10. Let's go 1.08. Because as soon as I said that, I was like, oh, that's an easy right.
I'm gonna go left at 1.08.
1.08. Are you going right or left?
Left.
Right.
I think I'm gonna go left. Josh Allen, 1.08.
Left.
Sorry. 1.10.
Left.
Is that the super dislike?
That's the super dislike.
Fuck you guys. All right, I'm gonna swipe right. Now here we go. Here should be some more fun ones. And granted, we don't know where these players are, so if this is like their ideal situation they land into, or I don't know. Like this, it's tough when you don't see that Josh Allen's on this team or that under that coach. So I think we're on the right track though. Mason Rudolph, 2.4.
I think that's another super dislike.
Left.
Okay, I'm gonna go left too. Riley Ferguson from Memphis, 2.06.
I think we need to go a little lower on the values for these guys.
All right. Where would you put him? What's like a fair value? Like 210?
Yeah, I was going to say 210.
That's like way too high. Like, for example, in my Superflex rankings, I didn't even have
For a
Mason.
2-quarterback league?
I didn't even have Mason Rudolph until the 3rd round.
Okay. All right. So.
This is a pretty deep running back class, as you said.
That's true. A lot of them will go 2nd round. All right. So let's go back. Let's go back. Mason Rudolph, 3.04.
I'd swipe right.
Yeah, I'd go right at 3.4.
All right. I'm going to go right. Riley Ferguson, 3.10 from
I'd
Memphis.
go
Left.
I'm going left. Luke Falk from Washington State. We'll go 3.10 as well.
Still left.
Still right.
I actually want to go right on Luke Falk. I like him a little bit more than Riley Ferguson for whatever reason. Granted,
If I'm a potential quarterback starter anytime after mid-3, I'm going right.
That's fair.
Two more we got here. Ryan Finley, NC State. We'll go 3.12.
Right.
Left.
Yeah, I don't like a lot of his numbers this year. I'm gonna go left. And finally, and I'm just using this I'm using some rankings off of different websites, but I'm mainly using a USA Today, which is not good at all. You should never use USA Today. Just to read this off. But Clayton Thorson from Northwestern, we're gonna say mid-fourth. Swipe right or swipe left?
Probably left, actually, on him.
Still left, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a left too.
It hits a certain point where I'd much rather take a flyer on a wide receiver or running back than a quarterback, even in leagues where quarterbacks matter.
I feel like, yeah, I'm with you on that. I feel like you much rather go with the upside of wide receiver, right?
Yeah, I mean, basically, Mason Rudolph, maybe Loletta is another guy we didn't mention, but Loletta might be like my cutoff. I'd probably have him at like QB7 in the class. I think that's my like absolute, like, I'll grab this guy, and after that, I don't care anymore.
Yeah.
Sound analysis there, Mike. We're going to finish up. We're running out of time, even though we control the time and we can do whatever we want because we have no sponsors. So if you're listening and you want to be a sponsor, please email us or DM us on Twitter.
Oh, actually, real quick, speaking of sponsors, so Jake Anderson, NFL Draft Talker, makes all graphics for different people. He's done a bunch of my Twitter profile pictures for free because he's just a great guy, but you should definitely check out his stuff. Almost everyone on fantasy Twitter at this point has some kind of graphics from Jake, and he will gladly do it at a pretty good rate for you. So everybody make sure to either hit up Jake for graphics or hit me up and I'll put you in touch with Jake.
Yeah, he's at NFL Draft Talker, right? On Twitter?
NFL Draft Talker.
Give us one final comment on selling Baker Mayfield. Mike, sell us Baker Mayfield one final time.
Baker Mayfield can be the face of your franchise. Not only will he win you games, he will put butts in your seats. Even if he sucks that first year or two, people will come and they'll say, I want to see what this guy can do. He'll bring in revenue.
Final sale on Josh Rosen, Bobby. Go.
First of all, New York. He is Jewish. I am Jewish.
I'm surprised he didn't come up earlier.
He will play to that market. That has nothing to do with how I feel about him, though, which is that he's very smart. He's well-liked by his teammates, despite what everyone makes you try to think, because every teammate he's ever had, more or less, has come out and said, I don't know what these reports are about. I love this guy. And they even said he matured over the years. So Josh Rosen in New York, perfect fit for him. And Giants, if you don't do it, I will probably cry on draft day.
Not probably, we will.
That's accurate.
Josh Allen is going to be your QB dynasty. Is going to be one of your QB dynasty quarterbacks. One of your 2 QB quarterbacks in dynasty football. Wow, can I just get this out? For
Junior,
the next decade, but just not in 2019. It'll be 2020 before it's.
He's struggling to say it because he doesn't truly.
All of the entire decade of 2020, Josh Allen will be your quarterback in dynasty football. Now, without burning me, Mike, do you have a burn of the week? We got to get into our afterburns of the week before we sign off.
I do have an afterburn of the week.
Give it to us, baby. Lay it on us.
So, if we're talking stereotypes, as
yes, we love stereotypes.
Most of you know who listen to this, I am Canadian. And a stereotype of Canadians is we're very polite. I think I generally fit into that stereotype. It really irks me when I go into an establishment, whether it be a restaurant or a clothing store or whatever, and I greet the person working and I say, "Hi, how are you today?" And they say, "I'm good." And they stand there and look at you.
And they don't even answer?
No, they just say, "I'm good."
They don't even ask you how you're doing?
No. And, well, you shouldn't say I'm good. You should say I'm well, thank you. But anyways, so yeah, I was in a restaurant. I won't name it, but it has a golden arch as its emblem.
Wendy's.
Yes, Wendy's. So I felt like getting a little ice cream treat. So I went in there and I said to the girl, I said, "Hi, how are you today?" And she says, "I'm good." And then just stood there, nothing else. And so finally I said, "Yeah, can I get a cream egg McFlurry, please?" And nowhere on their menu do they post what size they have.
Wait, are you burning McDonald's again? Haven't we done this before?
I burned Wendy's last time.
And then they gave you the same response where they just said, "I'm good"? Because
Yeah.
I remember Wendy's did that too. What's with the service in your area, man?
They're not good. So yeah, anyways, I'm burning the McDonald's for the people who just don't know how to interact with people. It's not hard. Just engage me. That's all I ask.
Bobby, what's your burn? Please give us something other than a fast food restaurant.
My burn is going to be my bladder, because I just drank an iced tea before we recorded this, and I could not hold it long enough to finish the podcast. Mike did an admirable job of stalling while I had to run to the bathroom, but my bladder just couldn't hold out. It needs to toughen up. So that's my burn of the week.
I got a burn. What'd you say, Mike?
I said I had Bobby's back, bro.
Yeah, man. I was gonna make a comment that he wanted to go take a deuce or something, but that's not the case. My burn is going to Oxygen Network. I don't know if you guys saw, but on Sunday, something was trending. Aaron Hernandez was trending because dummies were watching Oxygen, this Aaron Hernandez quote-unquote documentary, and it was a two-parter. The first part was all about how he grew up in a troubled childhood, and all this other stuff. And the second part was how he didn't murder someone. Keep in mind that the evidence is pretty slam dunk across the board, but apparently people are law experts now saying Aaron Hernandez was set up and it was all circumstantial evidence. People, no, he murdered a human being. He also shot someone in the car when he was at University of Florida. I don't know what these dummies, I don't know if they watch too much Law and Order and think circumstantial evidence is, you got to see him do it, but it was pretty slam dunk. Oxygen, you have created a generation of fucking dummies again. Thank you.
Mike, did you hear that? He tried to blame you for Aaron Hernandez's murders.
I did. Next thing I know, I'm going to have some people knock on my door, and I'm going to be indicted for this. Thanks a lot, Sam. Thanks a lot.
No. I'm pretty sure since Trump became president, your extradition is no longer a thing with Canada. You guys kind of severed diplomatic communications with us, so you're good.
Oh, sweet. I'm safe then.
This is a good episode, guys. We are running out of time. Don't forget to follow us, listeners, at Afterburners Pod. Subscribe to iTunes. You'll get to know exactly when new episodes come out, so you don't have to wait for it to upload to iTunes. Notifications sent directly to your phone. You can find me at The Needy One. Bobby, Mike, give us your handles and take us home.
Yeah, one other quick note. We're on Stitcher now, too. Stitcher, Podbean, and iTunes. So anywhere you listen to podcasts, you can find the Afterburners Pod. And we put that link in our Twitter handle for everybody to find. You can find me at Wrecked Fantasy. You can find my work at DLF Football or dynastyleaguefootball.com. And you can find me at 2QBs. And Mike, take us home.
Yeah, real quick. I retweeted a tweet last night, I believe it was, for a very important poll that the three members of the Afterburners got it into. It is, what show is better, Saved by the Bell or Boy Meets World?
Wait.
That was great.
Getting into this, I need to do an extra afterburn of the week because that just reminded me. So there are some jabronis in our baseball chat that think that Saved by the Bell is better than Boy Meets World. And this poll currently is proving them right, which is just wrong. because
57% of the people, bro.
The entire ensemble cast of Boy Meets World is Saved by the Bell. And I know we got the number one thing that it's now boiled down to for me that I just cannot accept is that Sam here has said that Mr. Belding is better than Mr. Feeney.
It's not even close.
That is unacceptable. If you have thoughts on which show is better, please tweet at the Afterburners podcast. Let us know, because this is a very heated debate, even more heated than our rookie quarterback.
Yep, there's about a day left to vote in that poll. Vote often, retweet that. Boy Meets World is better than Saved by the Bell, top to bottom. I know the debate was people over 30 think Saved by the Bell is better. I'm over 30. Boy Meets World, top to bottom, is better. But
Sam's using the poll to defend himself. I'd just like to say Twitter is full of trolls and fat fingers.
But Kelly Kapowski is better than Topanga Lawrence. You can find me at Mike Jarvis.
Yeah. And until next time, this has been the Afterburners podcast. Keep it classy, Fantasy Twitter.
Saved by the Bell.